Today, we're going to dive into one of the most persistent, well-intentioned, and consistently disastrous ideas in all of human history. And that's the attempt to control prices. It's a story that goes back, believe it or not, 4,000 years. And as you'll see, the outcome is pretty much always the same. I mean, it's such an intuitive question, right? When the price of gas or groceries shoots up, it just feels like there should be a simple switch someone can flip to make it better. That very question, that simple idea, is the starting point for our whole journey through 40 centuries of economic history. And this journey, it starts a long time ago. The idea of setting a fair price by law isn't some modern invention. Nope, it's an ancient impulse, really, driven by this desire for stability and fairness that's about as old as civilization itself. Just look at this timeline. It's wild. We start all the way back in 2150 BC with the Code of Hammurabi in Babylon. Then we jump thousands of years forward to the Roman Empire in 301 AD, then to the American Revolution, and all the way up to the US in 1971. Across totally different cultures, different continents, different millennia, the same idea just keeps popping up. In this quote, it just nails the motivation. As the source material puts it, this impulse seems to be coterminous with civilization. It really does come from a good place, this desire to protect people from what feel like unfair prices. But as history is about to show us, good intentions are only half the story. So, what happens when this idea is actually put into practice? Well, the historical record reveals what one source calls a grimly uniform sequence. A pattern emerges, again and again. And, well, it's not a pretty one. Okay, so our first stop is about 4,000 years ago in Babylon. The famous Code of Hammurabi, one of the first great written legal codes. It wasn't just about an eye for an eye. It also set super specific prices for things like boat hires and fixed the wages for laborers. It just blanketed the entire economy in these regulations. So what was the result? Well, pretty much the exact opposite of what they wanted. Historical records show that trade actually went down. Merchants, the engines of the whole economy, they just vanished from public records. The only thing that actually grew was the bureaucracy. The controls literally smothered the very economy they were trying to stabilize. Let's fast forward a couple of millennia to Rome. The empire was facing runaway inflation, and Emperor Diocletian decided to take things to a whole new level. His edict on maximum prices was incredibly detailed, covering over 1,000 different things. And get this, the punishment for selling goods above the legal limit was death. So, did it work? Well, a contemporary observer named Lactantius gives us this chilling account. He wrote that, because goods just disappeared from the market, men shed their blood over the smallest things. The law didn't lower prices, it just created massive scarcity, which drove the illegal black market prices even higher. Okay, let's bring it a little closer to home. During the American Revolution, the leaders faced a similar crisis. How do you supply the army? So the Continental Congress urged the states to cap prices on essential things, like food and clothing. It was a patriotic effort, all designed to support the troops. The result was an absolute disaster. Farmers who couldn't get a fair price anymore just stopped bringing food to the army. The winter at Valley Forge became infamous for starvation, a crisis made so much worse by these well-meaning laws. In fact, the Continental Congress itself later admitted the policy had very evil consequences and told everyone to repeal it. So we've seen this pattern of failure again and again and again. But why? Why does this keep happening? To get that, we need to shift gears a little from history to economics and talk about what a price actually is. So thinkers like Adam Smith started to really explain this back in the 18th century. What he realized was that prices aren't just these random numbers. They're a vital part of a massive decentralized information system that, kind of like magic, coordinates the actions of millions of people. And that brings us to this key concept, price signals. You see, a price is information. A high price is screaming out to producers, hey, we need more of this stuff. And it's telling consumers, whoa, maybe take it easy on this, it's getting scarce. A low price, of course, sends the exact opposite message. So here's how that works in practice. Let's say there's a shortage of something. The price naturally starts to rise. That higher price is a signal, like a flare going up, and it creates a powerful incentive for more producers to jump in and start making that thing. As the supply increases to meet the demand, the shortage gets resolved and the price stabilizes. It's a self-correcting system. And as the economist F.A. Hayek put it, trying to control prices completely breaks the system. It's like turning off your GPS in the middle of a road trip. The signals are just gone, and the economy can't figure out where to go. So think back. In Rome, Diocletian wasn't just setting a price for grain, he was cutting the communication line that told farmers it was worth their while to bring it to the city. At Valley Forge, the price caps weren't just a number, they were a broken signal telling farmers to sell their food literally anywhere but to the starving army. The controls destroy the very information needed to solve the problem. And all this leads us to our final and maybe most important point. What we're really looking at are two fundamentally different ways of dealing with the basic economic problem of scarcity. So on one side, you've got price controls. As one of our sources puts it, they are a method for organizing scarcity. They basically just manage the shortage, but they don't actually solve it. Then, on the other side, you have free market prices. These are a method for overcoming scarcity because they create the incentives to produce more of whatever is needed. And that right there is why we see these same side effects appear over and over again. You get the shortages that starved Valley Forge, you get the black markets that plagued ancient Rome, and you get this general decline in quality as producers have to cut corners just to make any kind of profit. The pattern is just relentless. And so we end right back where we started, with a question. The sources we've looked at lay out 40 centuries of evidence, all pointing to the exact same outcome. So the real puzzle isn't why price controls don't work, it's why, despite all this failure, we keep trying them. That's a powerful question to think about.